Hello everybody, welcome to the channel. I'm Chief Sweet, and today I'm going to teach you how to care for a bearded dragon. Now this is going to be a very basic, short care guide. It's a quick care guide. I have extended care guides and lighting guides because lighting is very important on my channel as well. You can find those, they'll be linked in the description, and they'll also just be on my channel. But this being a quick care guide, let's just jump right into it. So first thing we're going to talk about is tank size. When you get a bearded dragon, a lot of times you buy it from a pet store like PetSmart, Petco, even another pet store. A lot of times you're going to have like an Exoterra. They're going to sell you a 40-gallon tank. And while that's sort of okay for a baby, you really want a 4-foot by 2-foot by 2-foot enclosure or a 120-gallon tank. You can find this at DubiaEnclosures.com, Dubia Roaches. It's an enclosure. It's only $260. It's very cheap, and there's many of other enclosures you can find on the internet as well. They're only $207, $260, $270. I can't remember the price for it, but you might have bought your Exoterra 40-gallon for $300 because I think that's what they sell for at PetSmart. So it's actually cheaper to get the appropriate size enclosure than to get the 40-gallon. Now we've discussed the tank size. Let's talk about one thing I get asked a lot is cohabbing. Can you keep two bearded dragons together? The answer is no. You might be at a pet store and see them together. You know, well, they're together at the pet store, but they sell those bearded dragons off very quickly. So they're only in there for like a day or two, maybe sometimes a week. They go off, they get sold off very fast. If you have a bearded dragon, two bearded dragons in an enclosure, eventually when they get of age to be more like territorial or angry, they will fight and they will bite off limbs. This is very common in bearded dragons. They will fight other bearded dragons if they're in the tank with. So no, do not keep two bearded dragons together at all. Next up is lighting. This is by far one of the most important things for a bearded dragon, because if you don't have the right lighting, your bearded dragon gets sick. It can develop metabolic bone disease. It can be really bad. So you want appropriate lighting and heat. To acquire this, all you need is a halogen heat bulb. Now this can range, and I always tell people it really depends on your house, where you're located, your setup, everything. I myself have a 120-gallon tank. They're really like 130-gallon tanks. I built them myself. They're very large, very tall, and I use 2 par 38 heat lamps. That's what they are. Yes, I almost forgot what they were, but 2 par 38 floodlights Philips. I get them from hardware stores. If you're looking for those, they are phasing those out, so you're gonna have to get your heat bulbs from PetSmart or Petco or your local pet store. You probably want to start off with a 100-watt basking bulb. I've gotten away with 75 watts before, but I do have reptile rooms and they are very warm and very hot, so that's why I go with a 75 watt. But say you're in Arizona or a place that gets extremely hot, then go for a 75-watt bulb. If you're inside of your house is like 80 degrees, you won't need a high wattage bulb. And sometimes you may need to use two lamps, 2 heat lamps, or just one. It really depends. I know a lot of people get 40 gallons as their first tank because that's just what's sold to them. So for a 40-gallon, I would say maybe 100-watt heat bulb. It really depends. What you really want to refer it to is your temperature and humidity. The correct temperature and humidity for a bearded dragon on the hot side. You want a hot side and you want a cool side of the enclosure. So that way when they warm up, say they get a little too hot, they could go cool off. Just like if you was outside and you're just like, oh, you're sitting in the sun getting blasted, you're like, I need to go cool off. You find some shade. You need that for your lizard as well. The hot side of the enclosure is the air temp. I'm gonna talk about air temperature and basking temperature. Now, air temp is just the air around it, the air inside of the tank. What is the air inside of the tank? And when you have the heat lamps on, you want an air temperature of at least 85 to like 90 degrees, and that's just the air temperature. Now, the heat lamps are going to be blasting down. It's going to have a beam of light hitting the rock or some area where he wants to bask. And that's what's called the basking zone. It's where they go and they soak up the UVB. They just sit there and they just take in all the UVB, all the heat. When that blasts that spot, you want it to be between 100 and I would say 115. Some bearded dragons like it hotter, some bearded dragons like it cooler. How you can tell is if your bearded dragon is on the hot spot and he's just sitting there soaking it in, it's most likely a good temperature, as long as it's 100 degrees and above. But if he's like kind of sitting to the side, like he wants to go up, but he's kind of like, it's, you know, obviously it's like too hot for him. That's how you know, just lower the temperature. You can do this by buying a dimmer or maybe even lowering the wattages, but sometimes when you lower the watts, it just drops maybe like 10 degrees too much. So that's why a dimmer is very helpful. On the cool side, you want a 70 to 80 degree temperature range. And for humidity, it's always debated, but I would say a 20% between 50% is totally okay, because most people's homes are like 50. People worry about humidity quite a bit. And here's the thing, when you have heat lamps blasting down on a hot side of the tank, inside the tank, the humidity is not gonna be very high. Even if it's reading like 40%, that's fine. It's not gonna hurt them. If you have like soggy, moist then yeah, I would say definitely get a dehumidifier. But if inside the tank you touch the substrate and you look around, it's very dry, the bearded dragon's most likely going to be totally fine. And a lot of people are like really worried about this. You don't have to worry too much about the humidity, okay? As long as it's not like 80% or 60% consistently, always, you know, you just want it like 50%, 20%. It's okay to have it like, if it reaches 50% at some time, that's totally fine. You don't have to worry about it too much, as long as your heat lamps are blasting and you can look inside the tank and it's pretty dry. So back to the lighting part, that's what I mean by it really just depends on the waters and, you know, the heat bulbs. But I will tell you this, do not get the red bulbs. I've seen people get sold this. You don't want to, I mean, you can have a ceramic heat bulb, but really go for a halogen basking bulb, a halogen heat bulb. That's what you want. You want like a 75 watt or 100 watt, whatever watt you get, you'll know, because when you use it, it'll get you to the desired temperatures I just told you about. That's how you know which bulb is right. But for sure, it'll look like this as a basking bulb. So they come in different variations as well, but you'll see reptile, basking bulb, daylight looking, you know, halogen. That's the type of bulbs you want. The thing I get asked a lot is, do I keep the lights on at night? No, when the sun goes down, you can turn the lights off in the cage. I turn my lights on around 7 a.m. and they go off around 8 p.m. That's in the summertime. In the wintertime, I do change it. I pretty much go when sunrise and sunset, and that's how I have my lights on. At nighttime, everything should be off. You can turn all heat sources. Bearded dragons are going to be totally fine with low temperatures at nighttime because they are from the desert and it gets a little cold at night, so nothing on at night. If you're wondering how to set up your lights, you can set it up just like this. This is a very simple guide. It works very well, and a lot of people set theirs up like this. I set mine up like this. It doesn't matter as long as the heat and UVB are right next to each other. Now, the reason this is a long part of the video is because, like I said, lighting is extremely important. We talked about the heat. Now let's talk about UVB. Bearded dragons need UVB to help digest calcium and help get strong bones. So what you need is a Arcadia 12% UVB T5. It'll be like a tube style linear bulb, or a Zoomid 10.0 bulb as well. Make sure it's a T5. There's T8s and T5s. You want a T5. And you want an Arcadia 12% or a Zoomid 10.0. Those are the two you want. You don't want a 5.0, you don't want a 6%, you don't want any of that. It has to be 12% or a 10.0. You can also, if you have a very tall cage, you could get a 14% Arcadia bulb as well. Again, do not use coil UVB bulbs. Do not use those at all. And one thing I like to do for my tanks, because a lot of times I've been in the hobby for a long time and I always thought the tanks look just so dark. You know, you look at a tank and most people just have a heat lamp and a UVB bulb. It's very dark. Those don't put off a lot of light. So I use a daylight LED house bulb. It's only like $3, and then I go get a lamp as well. It's like $6, a clamp lamp from Walmart, and I put that on the other side of the tank to brighten the enclosure up. Because bearded dragons are from the desert, they like it bright. When you go outside, you've been inside your house all day, you walk outside, it's extremely bright. You're like, whoa, imagine being in the desert, not a lot of cover, and the sun's just blasting. So I like to brighten my cages up hardcore with a daylight LED 6500K or 6000K. I've even have some 5000K bulbs, a day 100 watt, 75 watt equivalents. Those was what I used to brighten my cages up. So you can add that as well. A lot of people see that and they're like, why does he have a third light? This makes no sense. But it's to brighten the cage. I'm tired of dark cages, okay? We're gonna brighten the cages up. We're going desert, okay? We're mimicking natural sunlight as best as we can, and that's why I go with full spectrum lighting. Okay, so now pretty much all the important stuff is out of the way. Let's talk about what goes inside the tank. Substrate. Now, a lot of people really, this is just personal preference. I like substrate where my bearded dragon could go dig burrows, you know, it's almost natural. So I do make my own substrate. If you don't make substrate like me, I make mine out of peat moss. I have a video on how I make mine as well. I have that linked in the description as well. But some people like to use Exoterra, I think it's like Stone Desert, excavator clay mixed with it, some play sand mixed with that. Some people don't even use substrate at all. They use like tiles, or like kind of like, what are those? It's like terracotta cinder blocks type stuff. There's tons of different options you can use for substrate. One thing I will say to stay away from is reptile carpet. Bearded dragons get their nails stuck in there. You might have reptile carpet. They get their nails stuck and it kind of like yanks it up. Some bearded dragons have lost toes doing this, ripped their toe completely off. So stay away from reptile carpet. calcium sand, Eco Earth. If you do use Eco Earth, you can go ahead and mix it with like some topsoil and play sand. Then you can use Eco Earth, but Eco Earth by itself gets very dusty, and if you add water, it holds the water in too much, can jump the humidity way up. Like I said, it can get swampy. So those are the ones you kind of want to stay away from. So now substrate or dirt. I know a lot of people who are coming into the hobby don't know what substrate is, but dirt, that's what I'm talking about, dirt. Okay, so now that's out of the way, let's talk about decor. What do you want inside of your enclosure? You might go to a pet store and see that they're selling like tree limbs for like $40, rocks. You're like, whoa, this is crazy expensive. It doesn't have to be. You could go outside, cut a tree limb off a tree, throw it in your enclosure, get some rocks outside, scrub them off, throw it in your enclosure. That's exactly what I do. I have a video on how I get all my tree limbs and rocks from outside, which trees to know is safe, which trees to know is not. It's linked down in the description as well if you want to check that out. It's also on the channel. But you could go outside and get stuff for free. You don't have to buy stuff. You don't have to buy everything for the lizard inside of a pet store. You can go outside in the wild. These lizards are from the wild. Now, they are obviously not native to this area where you're at, but you go outside, find an appropriate tree. Stay away from cedar and pine trees. Do stay away from those. But you could go find oak trees. Oak trees are really good, and just get that and throw it in an enclosure and decorate it how you please. I know a lot of people get the nets. Like there's like these like net looking things like hammocks. I have seen some bearded dragons get hurt by those, so I wouldn't recommend that, because the bearded dragons like to climb and they get their foot stuck and they might fall out and it like breaks their arm. Stuff like that does happen. I've seen that happen a few times. They look awesome. I really do like them, but they are prone to accidents. So keep that in mind. Next up is diet. This is important, just like the lighting, it's just as important. Now, bearded dragons are omnivores. They're opportunistic eaters. They will eat what you put in their face. If it moves, it looks good, they're gonna eat it. So you have to be careful, because there might be something poisonous, like a toad gets in your house and you have him walking around, he sees the toad, it might be poisonous to him, it could kill your dragon. However, they do eat crickets, mealworms, superworms. Be careful with superworms. They do get addicted to superworms, and superworms are very fattening, and it could make your bearded dragon super obese. So you have to be very careful with superworms. My bearded dragon male, he got some superworms, and then that's all he wanted to eat. He would eat nothing else. He looked at doobie roaches and says, no, I don't want that. I would try to show him stuff. He was like, not interested. I show him a superworm. It was like crack cocaine. He just went crazy for it. He's like, oh my goodness, what is this? What is that? But like I said, tons of different feeders. You can feed them all kinds of insects. You can buy it at your local pet store. You can look online. You can buy them in bulk, because one thing I'm going to get to next is how often do you feed your bearded dragon? Now, when you get a baby bearded dragon, as much as they can eat. I feed my baby bearded dragons almost 2 to 3 times a day, depending. I will throw in crickets, and when they eat them all up, I'll keep on throwing in crickets or doobie roaches or mealworms until they stop. And then I'll come back a couple hours later, do the same thing. If they eat them, then they eat them, and I keep on doing it until they stop. And eventually, they won't eat no more. And what you really want to be careful about is take anything in the cage out, because crickets are known to just kill baby bearded dragons. They can go and just, while bearded dragons asleep, just kill them and eat them alive. And so you don't want that. So make sure to take the insects out. I know it's crazy. You wouldn't think it could be possible, but it is very possible. So take the crickets out of the enclosure at nighttime. Now, I know I'm talking about insects, and I said they were omnivores, but here's the thing. I do offer greens inside the enclosure as well when I feed the insects. Baby bearded dragons aren't that, they don't really care to eat much greens, but they do. If you offer it and just leave it there, you can have them chopped up. I like to pretty much get like a whole leaf of like collard greens, mustard greens. There's a variety of what they can eat that's very healthy for them. I even offer some of my baby bearded dragons romaine lettuce, because it's nothing but water. You might hear like, oh, don't give them romaine lettuce. And that's mainly because it's just water. And that's good for baby bearded dragons, because a lot of times they can get a little dehydrated. So I offer that to them like once a week. And then I offer mustard greens, turnip greens, arugula, tons of different variety. There is so much greens you can offer them. One thing you want to stay away from is spinach, though. Don't give them spinach. That's one thing you want to stay away from. Spinach looks like this. Stay away from the spinach. So, like I said, juveniles, babies to like around 6 months of age, definitely feed them as much as they will eat. And once they stop eating, they're good. However, when they get a bit older, past 6 months of age, I feed them about just once a day. Again, kind of as much as they can eat, but not too much. Now, when a bearded dragon gets full grown, like a year to 18 months, and sometimes even past that, some bearded dragons don't stop growing until they're 2. So once they get to that age and they're fully grown, they slow down on shedding consistently. They don't shed very often. I feed them honestly like once a week. Like, I don't feed them very often, and that's because they keep fat on them so well they have a chance to become obese. And I barely feed them. I feed my male bearded dragon. He's fully grown. He's fat as can be. I feed him once a week, like one dubia roach, maybe a piece of greens, like some collard greens with this dubia roach, just a little bit. I don't feed them very much because they're so good at keeping fat on them. Now I do provide water. Now we're on water. I provide them with a water dish consistently every day. Now you might not see them drink water, and that's okay. Bearded dragons don't really drink water from a water bowl that much. So what I do is I like to go by once every 2 days. I get like a sprayer and I like drop it on the tip of their nose, like just drop water droplets, and it'll hit their, it just hits their mouth and it runs down, and they will drink from that. Bearded dragons do drink better from that than just a water bowl. I've never actually seen my bearded dragons ever drink from a water bowl, but I do offer it. So keep that in mind if you're worried about your bearded dragon not drinking from a water bowl. And they do get water from the greens. That's why I said I feed my babies romaine lettuce, because they do take in that moisture from the greens. But babies, I notice, will drink a lot better than adults. Adults are just really good at keeping all that stuff inside of them. So don't get too worried if they're not drinking water. Replace the water in the water bowl daily, and when you replace it, scrub out the water bowl so that way it doesn't get any algae or any nasty stuff on there. And that is it. That's a quick care guide. I know it doesn't seem very quick, but trust me, there's so much more to learn about bearded dragons. And that's all I have for you. As always, keep learning. If you enjoyed the video, have any questions, drop those down below. Like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.